Yo, what's up, guys? It's Kezin. I know some of you are going to be on Omens of War pretty soon, so I wanted to make a Warrior Best in Slot guide for that. I didn't actually finish my Warrior Best in Slot gearing series. I had everything except for Omens of War, so here we are. We got it all figured out, and this page is getting extremely big and it's extremely laggy, so I might break some of this stuff up on the Warrior Best in Slot page here. And I know down at the Gates of Discord section, I don't have links and stuff. At the time that I made this, I ran out of time, so I actually just didn't put any links in, but the items are all still there. So I think I'm going to redo some of these pages that are getting really big, just to make it easier viewing for you. And then this Omens of War format I put it in is probably what I'm thinking about putting the rest of the eras in for format. So hopefully this is better than what I had previously. I'm always looking to do things that make it cleaner and easier to read for you guys. So if you do like this format, just let me know in the comments down below. And so here's Omens of War. We got a few goals for our gearing. We want to make sure we get an anger mod, and that's going to be on our 2.0 epic, so that's going to be a no-brainer right there. We want to get improved dodge 3. On that, we're going to have that on our earring. We want to get improved parry and block 3, and that's going to be on our necklace. And then we want to get cleave and ferocity. This is going to be on our boots and our face. And also you want to make sure you get haste, never forget haste, and that's going to be an easy one. It's going to be on our tier 2 helmet. And you want to try to get the attack cap if you can. In my build, it meets all these requirements. And the attack cap is 250. It might go up in Omens of War, I don't remember, based on AA. But just keep in mind that you want to beat the attack cap, whatever that might be. For some notable clickies, we got Form of Defense. You want to pick that one up. You want to get Form of Endurance 3. You want to get Chaotic Ward, and you want to get a Chaotic Ward is going to give you AC and Resist. And you want to get your Overhaste item. There's a 10% Overhaste available in Omens of War, which is pretty cool. And these are all the items that will grant that. Now, you're not necessarily going to be wearing all these, but these are kind of items you're going to want to look out for. As far as heroic stats go, you want to get your evasion as high as you can. So we want to get 34 heroic agility. That's going to give us enough evasion to be over the cap of 100. For heroic dex, same thing here. You want to get to 34 heroic dex if you can. And also heroic stamina. You want to get to that 35 heroic stamina cap. And so here's how I made this guide. Over here I have a Magalo, however you pronounce it. Over here of the actual all the items we're going to be going over, and you can see here this is like his estimated HP. You may see a little bit lower on a TLP server. I made this character on live, and on live characters start out with like a little bit more base HP. I don't know when that kicks back in for TLP, but just keep in mind this might be a little bit, maybe a few hundred higher than that you might see if you get the same gear. And we got 3600 AC, almost 3700. And this attack might be a little bit off. I don't know if my offensive skills are capped, but you should be somewhere in that ballpark. So how I made this, how did I pick this gear out? Well, I find it's easiest to work backwards from the augments. So what that means is I'll go in and I'll pick the very best augments possible that I want. And even if they're, just pick the best ones that I want. And mostly for Warrior, it's going to be all AC augs. And also, you want to get the highest HP possible once you have the best AC augs you can get. And you can kind of balance those out. I prioritized AC for the most part in this. So I picked out all AC, and then I went backwards, and I picked out the best items I could that has the most heroic stats as possible. And again, me personally, I like capping heroic decks because you just get so much aggro. You proc so often, especially with the Warrior AA. From Gates of Discord, you're just going to be proccing all the time. You're going to be getting tons of aggro, so it's really good if you're grouping with casters, and it's also really good for gaining aggro quick on raids. And on top of that, you want to get, again, heroic stamina and heroic agility. Now, so what I do is I try to get all these heroic stats on the actual item, not on the augments. And even if it means sacrificing a little bit of HP and a little bit of AC on the item, it's usually best to get the heroic stat on the item rather than the augment, because if you don't, then you have to wear an extra heroic stat augment, which means your overall stats are going to be lower. Now, there's like a point of diminishing returns where the regular item is way worse than an item that may not have the heroic stat, but you don't want to pick those up. But if they're fairly comparable, say it's like 8 or 9 AC and 30 HP, you're probably going to want to go with the item that has more heroic stats on it, just so you can wear an extra AC AUG, because that AC AUG is going to more than compensate for the regular stats that you lost on the item. And down here is going to be the new format that I have the guide in. I'm going to put these into tables, so you have like the item here and then the augment you can put in it. And I put a couple different options, and we'll go over this last. So what we want to do is let's go over to the profile here, and let's look at our heroic stats first. So you'll see in this, you go, where is that? Modifiers, heroic. All right, so for heroic dex, we have 34 heroic dex, which is going to put us right there where we want to be. We're going to have, not heroic wisdom, heroic agility. We're going to have way too much heroic agility. It's super easy for warriors to get heroic agility. I wasn't trying to do this, but it just kind of happened because all these items have heroic agility on it. Lastly here, we have heroic stamina. And you'll see we're over the cap. Now there's two reasons for that. First one is because we're wearing the shield, which has 4 heroic stamina on it. And you're not always going to be wearing that. And the second reason is because we're wearing an augment that I put in. Now the reason I'm wearing this augment, even though we're over the cap, is because I'm using it as an HP augment. You got 90 HP base, and it also has 4 heroic stamina on it. Heroic stamina is still going to give you HP, it's just not going to give you that melee shielding once you hit 35. So that's why we're using that one. And if you want to swap this out for another AC AUG, you can. I think you're going to have to replace it with the 15 AC AUG, though. I didn't see any other 20s left that I was able to fit into this build. So I preferred 150 HP in this case over the 15 AC. It's up to you, whichever one you want to do. It's not really a big deal, but that covers all the heroic stats. So we're over here on the first item here on the profile. We got Beaded Hoop of Demise. This is really nice because it has 3 heroic dex and 3 heroic stamina on it. You get both of these, and it has attack. It just has tons of heroic stats on it, so you're going to want to pick this one up. And for the gem here, I put the breakdown of communication augment. This is optional. It's a really long quest. You don't have to do it if you don't want, but it is, you know, technically it's probably the BiS. So you can get that one if you want for your earring. For the necklace, we have Choke Over Imprisoned Visions. We have a 4 heroic stamina. This has 4 heroic stamina and really good AC. It's also, we're going to put Blessed Shard in it. For the mask, we have Golem Stone Face Guard. This will give you 4 heroic dex, and you want to try to get as much dex you can on the gear because it's actually kind of hard to cap it out if you're not like going for it. And then we have a 20 AC AUG in it. For the helm, it's just our set helm. This will be our haste helm or haste item as well. 45% haste, and we have another AC AUG in there. For the next earring, we have Earring of Mental Incursion. This has 3 heroic stamina, and it's also got a 20 AC AUG in it. Next, we have ring number 1, Puja's Ring of Fire. This has 4 heroic strength, which is, you know, it's okay. It's got it's better than not having it, but it's not required. 7 heroic agility and 3 heroic dex. So I pretty much picked this one out because of the heroic dex. And it's fairly comparable to the other rings in Anguish. It's just a little bit less AC and HP. And we got 20 AC AUG in there. For ring number 2, this actually comes from Texfu, the Zunmurum NPC. That's the last boss in the zone. This is really nice. It's got 3 heroic dex on it, and same thing here. The AC on this is pretty comparable to anything you're going to find in Omens of War. It's about average, and the HP is a little bit low, but you're going to get this 3 heroic dex, and that's going to be really huge. It also has Cleave 3 on it, which is nice, and it's going to be it's going to have an 20 AC AUG in it as well. Next, we have just for both bracers, we're just going to wear our class bracers, Gladiator's Plate Bracer of War. And we're going to throw a 25 AC AUG in both of those. For the arms, we have Arm Plates of Endless Fortitude. And where are these from? Okay, these are from the Master of Endurance raid. And I picked these out because these have 7 heroic stamina. That is a lot of heroic stamina on one item. This has a really high stat weight. I actually feel like this item is a little overpowered. And it also has improved parry and block on it. So that's going to be our mod for that. And it's also got, we're going to put a 30 AC AUG in there as well. Also, I wanted to mention the necklace also has a parry and block mod. So maybe if you only have one or the other item, there's actually going to be 2 in this build that cover that. For the gloves, we have our set gloves. It's got 3 heroic decks. We're going to put a 35 AC Yogg in it from the Eldon raids. For the shoulders, I picked this one because it has 5 heroic decks. That is a lot of heroic decks. And we're going to put 150 HP Yogg in it. That's from the Anguish mini bosses that spawn. It's got pretty good stats as well, 43 AC, 300 health. It's also got the heroic agility, but we're going to be way over the cap for that. But I chose this one because the heroic decks, 5 heroic decks on one item is insane. For the breastplate, tier 2 breastplate, no brainer here. It's got a clicky that will lower your damage taken, looks like by 15%. So that's a nice, awesome survivability clicky there. This is good all the way until live. You can click this all the way until live. And we're going to put a 25 AC Yogg in that. For the cloak, we have Cloak of Regretful Transactions. This, I picked it out just because it has a lot of AC and has a lot of HP in it. It doesn't have any heroic stats that we're really going to be using. It does have some heroic agility, but this is just a really high AC HP item, and we have the room for it. Now, this is the augment. If you add up 90 HP plus 4 heroic stamina, that's going to be more HP than you're going to get from any other item. So this might actually still be the BiS. So I'll just keep this in here, and if you want to swap it out, be my guest. For the belt, we have Chains of Anguish. This will have 3 heroic stamina on it. Also, it's just a tank item. It's got a ton of AC, 330 health. It's super beefy. And we're going to put a heroic dex Yogg in here from the mini bosses. For the legs, we have the set legs. It's got 5 heroic stamina, 2 heroic agility, tons of stats, a parry mod on it, 50 attack, and 25 AC. Yogg is what I threw in here. So this is just a really strong item, pretty much no-brainer here. For the boots, we have the boot set, the set boots. This is going to be a Ferocity 5 item, and we're going to throw a 25 AC Yogg in it. For the weapons, let's go over to the other page for the weapons. First, we'll go over the shield. We got Shield of Lightning Lord. Shield of the Lightning Lord. It's got 4 heroic stamina, 5 heroic agility. We're going to put our highest AC Yogg in it so we can get the full benefit out of that. Because the shield doesn't have diminishing returns on the AC, you get the whole amount. And for the weapons, let's go over to the other page here. So we have 2 options that can kind of be considered BiS. So the first one is putting your Epic 2.0 in your primary, and that's pretty obvious. And then for the offhand, you can use Notch Blade of Bloodletting. And this is a stun direct damage proc, and the ratio on this is really good too. Now the secondary option you have is if you have the Brutish Blade of Balance from TACV, this is a primary only item. So, ideally you would put this on your offhand, but since you can't, you can put this in your primary. And if you have your 2.0 Epic, you can put your 2.0 Epic in your offhand. And these are both hate procs, so you're going to generate a lot of hate here. And for the augments for all of these options, you're just going to want to get the Eldon augments. Keep in mind that the Warrior 2.0 Epic can actually hold 1 Type 4 and 1 Type 8. You'll see there, it's got both of them down at the bottom. So you want to make sure you get 1 from each camp, and then otherwise you just use the Type 8 one for these other 2 items here. And then, so yeah, let's go over to the ranged item here. We got Symbol of the Overlord. This is going to give you 4 heroic decks, which is the main reason I picked this out. This is also your overhaste item. It's going to give you 10% overhaste clicky. And it's just got strong, it's got a lot of AC and HP there. So for the augment, I chose to put a +3 to dex Yogg in it, and it also has 90 HP. That's from the Anguish minis as well. And lastly, we have the charm slot. And let's go down to the other page here for the charm slot. So there's 2 options here. You got your Plane of Power Progression Charm. This is most people are going to have this if you're playing on a TLP server and you raid. You're going to have this maxed out. The other option is this Chiseled Jade figurine. You'll see it says increases in power closer it is to midnight. And I saw a screenshot of this going up to like 180 HP and like 38 AC. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm actually going to get this item and try to figure it out. Now you notice here it says droppable. That's actually not droppable. I just took the screenshot on Fronive. So keep in mind, this is a no trade item. And then for the augments over here, we just have the Eldon Augs. You're going to want to max out your Eldons and if you want to get these stats, but completely optional here, but it is technically, you know, the best thing you can do. I think the best way to probably come up with your BiS is to pick the best AUGs first and work your way backwards, and try to minimize the stat loss when you're picking up heroic stat on your regular items. So yeah, please make sure to like this video so it's helpful, and also please subscribe. All right, thanks guys, bye.